The night air in Shanghai was cool, tinged with the smell of rain that hadn't quite fallen. Neon lights flickered along the wide streets, and from the rooftop of Jinglong International Tower, the city stretched endlessly like a bed of stars. Lin Shui, CEO of Shui Group, stood at the edge of the rooftop parking lot, her heels clicking against the concrete as she headed toward her car. She had stayed late once again, reviewing endless reports. Her assistant had begged her to take a driver, but Lin Shui was proud, fiercely independent. She adjusted her blazer, her long black hair tied neatly, and exhaled. Another day survived. At only 28, she carried the weight of an empire left by her late father. Competitors circled her like wolves, and shareholders doubted her. But Lin Shui had a reputation: ice-cold, untouchable, and brilliant. She pressed the unlock button on her car. That was when she heard it. A shuffle of feet. Too many for comfort. "Miss Lin," a low male voice called out from the shadows. "You shouldn't be alone tonight." Lin Shui froze. From behind the parked cars, 4 men emerged. All were broad-shouldered, dressed in black jackets, with something menacing in the way they moved. Kidnappers. Her heart skipped, but her expression didn't falter. "Step aside," she said coldly, voice steady despite the adrenaline rising in her veins. The leader chuckled. "Bosses like you, always so proud. Don't worry, we won't hurt you. Not unless you resist. Our employer just wants to talk." He gestured, and 2 men moved toward her. Lin Shui stepped back, hand tightening on her bag. She knew self-defense, but 4 against 1? Impossible. Suddenly, another figure emerged from the shadows, a tall man in the navy uniform of a building security guard. His posture was relaxed, but there was a quiet, dangerous confidence in the way he stepped forward. "Miss Lin," he said, his deep voice steady. "Get behind me." It was Zhao Chen, the night shift security guard. He was usually invisible, holding doors open, checking passes, standing at corners where no one paid attention. Lin Shui had passed him countless times without so much as a glance. Now, he was the only thing standing between her and danger. The leader sneered. "A security guard? Move, boy. This doesn't concern you." Zhao Chen didn't move. His eyes, dark and unreadable, locked onto the men. "Leave now," he said, voice quiet but carrying a weight that made even the thugs hesitate. "Or you'll regret it." The gang laughed, but unease flickered across their faces. The way Zhao Chen stood, grounded, calm, utterly fearless, didn't fit the role of a lowly guard. "Kill him," the leader snapped. The first man lunged, swinging a metal pipe. Zhao Chen moved like water. His hand shot up, catching the pipe mid-swing. In one smooth motion, he twisted, wrenched it free, and struck the man in the stomach. The thug collapsed, gasping. The others rushed him. Zhao Chen's body blurred, each strike precise and efficient. A kick to the knee, an elbow to the jaw, a sharp twist that sent another man crashing against a car. Within seconds, 3 were on the ground, groaning in pain. Only the leader remained, his confidence shattered. He pulled a knife, desperation flashing in his eyes. "You don't know who you're dealing with," he snarled. Zhao Chen stepped forward slowly, eyes cold. The air seemed to thicken around him, the neon light reflecting off the blade. For a heartbeat, Lin Shui could swear the guard's calm mask slipped, revealing something darker, sharper, like a predator tired of hiding. The leader lunged. Zhao Chen sidestepped, caught his wrist, and with terrifying ease, disarmed him. The knife clattered to the floor. Zhao Chen's fist drove into the man's chest, sending him sprawling unconscious beside his men. Silence. Only Lin Shui's heartbeat filled the air. She stared at Zhao Chen, chest rising and falling rapidly. "You!" Her voice caught in her throat. "Who are you?" Zhao Chen turned toward her. His expression softened back into that quiet humility she recognized from the lobby. "Just a guard, Miss Lin," he said simply, as if nothing extraordinary had happened. But Lin Shui wasn't convinced. She had seen too much in those few minutes. The precision, the deadly grace, the way he fought not like a security guard, but like someone trained for war. Sirens wailed in the distance. Someone must have called the police. Zhao Chen retrieved her dropped handbag and handed it to her with a slight bow. "You're safe now." But it isn't wise for you to be alone, not with enemies circling. His words made her chest tighten. He spoke them not like an employee advising a boss, but like a man who knew the dangers of power all too well. The police arrived, hauling away the unconscious attackers. Lin Shui gave her statement, but her mind was elsewhere, on the silent, unreadable figure standing just behind her. When the officers left, she turned to him. "Zhao Chen," she said quietly, testing his name for the first time. He bowed his head respectfully. "Yes, Miss Lin." Her lips parted, then closed again. Pride warred with gratitude inside her. She hated showing weakness, but tonight, she would have been lost without him. "Come with me," she finally said. I don't want to be alone tonight." For the first time, Zhao Chen's calm eyes flickered with something else, surprise. He inclined his head. "As you wish." Neither of them knew it then, but that single decision, to spend one night under the same roof, would change both their lives forever. The penthouse on the 56th floor of Shui Group Tower gleamed like a crystal palace against the Shanghai night. Floor-to-ceiling windows revealed a dazzling sea of city lights, but inside, the air was strangely quiet. Lin Shui led Zhao Chen into the grand living room. Her heels clicked against the polished marble floor, her posture tall and composed, though her heart hadn't quite settled since the rooftop incident. She set her handbag down on the glass table and turned to him. "Sit," she ordered, voice cool, almost imperious. Zhao Chen obeyed silently, lowering himself onto the edge of the leather sofa. His broad shoulders seemed too large for the sleek furniture. His uniform, creased from long hours of duty, looked strangely out of place among the luxurious surroundings. For a moment, Lin Shui just stood there, arms folded, staring at him. The events of the night replayed in her mind. The glint of knives, the sharp sound of bones meeting fists, his body moving with impossible precision. "You're not just a guard," she said finally, voice sharp, probing. Zhao Chen looked at her calmly. "And you're not just a CEO." The words caught her off guard. Her eyes narrowed. "Explain." He leaned back slightly, his dark eyes reflecting the city lights behind her. "A woman your age doesn't carry herself like that unless she's learned to fight for every step. You stand too straight, hide too much. You trust no one. That doesn't come from business school, it comes from surviving." The truth of it stung more than she cared to admit. She opened her mouth, then closed it again. For once, Lin Shui, the unshakable CEO, found herself speechless. Finally, she turned away, crossing to the window. "I don't know what game you're playing, Zhao Chen. But tonight, you saved my life. For that," she hesitated, then forced the words out. "For that, I owe you." Zhao Chen's lips curved into the faintest hint of a smile. "You owe me nothing. Protecting lives is my duty." "Don't give me that," she snapped, spinning back to face him. "No guard fights like you did. No guard looks at danger the way you did. Who are you?" Her voice echoed in the penthouse, sharper than she intended. For a long moment, Zhao Chen didn't answer. He simply watched her, calm, unreadable, like a mountain unmoved by storm. Then he rose slowly to his feet. His height startled her. She had seen him countless times at the building's lobby, but she had never realized how tall, how solid he was until now. For a heartbeat, she felt small in her own home. "I'm no one," Zhao Chen said softly. "Just a man who owes this city more than it owes me. Tonight, you were in danger. I did what needed to be done." There was something in his tone, regret, pain, that made her chest tighten unexpectedly. She hated it. She hated the way his words slipped under her armor, stirring something human she fought so hard to bury. Lin Shui turned away again, masking the warmth rising in her cheeks. "Stay here tonight. I won't risk another ambush." He inclined his head. "As you wish." Understood. Later that night, the storm finally broke. Rain hammered against the glass, wind howling through the skyscrapers. Lin Shui found herself pacing her bedroom, unable to sleep. She could still hear the echoes of the fight, see the flash of blades. For years she had built walls of steel around her heart, refusing to show weakness to anyone. Yet tonight, with Zhao Chen only a room away, her defenses wavered. She opened her door quietly. The living room lights were dim, but she found him sitting by the window, awake, his silhouette framed by lightning beyond the glass. He wasn't sleeping, wasn't resting, just watching the storm, as though the chaos outside was more familiar to him than peace. "Why aren't you asleep?" she asked softly. He didn't turn. "Storms don't let me sleep." Something about the way he said it made her throat tighten. She approached slowly, her silk robe whispering against the floor. "You remind me of someone," she admitted, surprising even herself. "My father. He was untouchable, strong. But when no one was looking, he carried so much pain. You have that same look in your eyes." At that, Zhao Chen finally turned his gaze to her. His eyes were dark pools, reflecting both sorrow and steel. "And you remind me of the people I failed to protect," he said quietly. Her breath caught. For a long moment, neither spoke. The storm raged, but in the quiet penthouse, the only sound was the steady rhythm of their breathing. Lin Xue's composure cracked, just slightly. "I hate this," she whispered. "Feeling weak. Relying on someone else. I built my entire life so no man could ever see me like this." Zhao Chen rose, stepping closer. He didn't reach for her, didn't dare touch. But his presence itself was grounding, steady. "There's no weakness in trust," he said. "Even the strongest empires need walls to lean on." Her lips trembled, and for the first time in years, Lin Xue felt tears threaten at the edge of her eyes. She looked away quickly, furious at herself. But Zhao Chen said nothing more. He simply stood by her side, silent, immovable. When the storm calmed, they found themselves sharing the same couch, silence bridging the distance between them. She leaned back, exhaustion finally overtaking her, and at some point, her head slipped against his shoulder. Zhao Chen stiffened at the contact, then slowly relaxed. His hand hovered in the air for a moment before he let it rest gently on the couch, not daring to move closer. By dawn, Lin Xue woke with a start, realizing she had fallen asleep against the man she barely knew. Heat rushed to her face, and she pulled away quickly. "This never happened," she said sharply, gathering her composure like armor. Zhao Chen only gave a faint nod, the ghost of a smile at his lips. "As you wish, Miss Lin." But deep inside, both of them knew, something had shifted. One night of vulnerability had changed the air between them forever. The following morning, the storm had passed, leaving the sky over Shanghai washed clean and pale. From the 56th floor, the city looked almost serene, though Lin Xue's heart was anything but. She stood in front of her vanity mirror, brushing her hair with slow, deliberate strokes. Her reflection was flawless, the flawless CEO, composed, untouchable. Yet behind her eyes lingered the memory of falling asleep on Zhao Chen's shoulder. It made her furious. Furious at him. Furious at herself. Furious at how easily her guard had cracked. By the time she entered the living room, her mask was firmly back in place. Zhao Chen was already awake, dressed in his security uniform as though nothing had happened. His posture was crisp, eyes alert, every line of him disciplined and controlled. "You're still here," she remarked, her tone brisk. "You asked me to stay," he replied simply. She narrowed her eyes. "Don't get used to it. Last night was an exception." For a moment, his lips curved, the barest flicker of amusement in his otherwise stoic face. "Of course, Miss Lin." Her irritation flared. Why did it feel like he was humoring her? Later that day, in the gleaming boardroom of Xue Group, Lin Xue sat at the head of the long table, surrounded by directors and executives. Charts glowed on the massive digital screen, financial reports streaming in neat columns. But she could barely concentrate. Because standing unobtrusively near the door, hands clasped behind his back, was Zhao Chen. His presence should have been invisible, like any other guard. And yet she couldn't stop noticing the way his eyes scanned the room, sharp and calculating, as though assessing every man and woman present not for their business acumen but for threat level. When one of the older directors leaned forward aggressively, voice rising in challenge, she saw Zhao Chen's jaw tighten. His gaze flicked to the man's hands, then to the security cameras, then back again, all in less than a second. It was subtle. Too subtle for anyone else to notice. But Lin Shui noticed. She excused herself after the meeting and caught him in the hallway. "You were watching them," she accused. "That's my job," he answered evenly. "No," she pressed, stepping closer. "That wasn't ordinary vigilance. You read the room like a soldier. You're not just trained, you're battle-hardened. Who are you really?" For a moment, silence stretched between them. His gaze met hers, unreadable, steady as ever. Finally, he said quietly, "Do you truly want to know, Miss Lin? Because once you do, you may not look at me the same way again." Her heart skipped. There was weight in his words, the kind that carried ghosts. "Try me." That night, the questions gnawed at her. Lin Shui poured herself a glass of wine and stood on her balcony, watching the neon skyline blur into the darkness. When she turned back inside, Zhao Chen was there, as if summoned by her thoughts. He carried no wine, no smile, no ease. Just his presence, solid, impenetrable. "You wanted the truth," he said. She set her glass down slowly. "Yes." He removed his jacket, folding it neatly on the arm of the sofa, revealing the lean lines of muscle beneath his white shirt. But it wasn't his physique that caught her breath. It was the faint scars that marked his forearms. Long, pale lines, some old, some newer, like a map of battle survived. "I wasn't always a guard," he began, his voice low, deliberate. "For 10 years, I served in the Dragon Shadow Corps." Lin Shui stiffened. The name wasn't unknown to her. Whispers in political and business circles spoke of them. China's most elite, secretive military unit. Operatives so skilled they were rumored to be ghosts. Untouchable. Deadly. "I thought Dragon Shadow was a myth," she said carefully. A faint smile touched his lips. "Many prefer to believe that." She swallowed hard. "And you left. Why?" His eyes darkened, and for the first time since she had met him, she saw something raw break through his composure. "Because I failed. My unit was sent to protect an envoy, and I lost him. Innocent people died because of me. I resigned, disappeared. Now I live as a nameless guard, repaying debts that can never be repaid." The confession hit her harder than she expected. He wasn't a mystery anymore. He was a man burdened by ghosts, walking with shadows at his back. "You saved me last night," she said softly. "Does that mean I'm another debt to balance?" His gaze snapped to hers, sharp as a blade. "No." The intensity in his voice made her breath catch. "I saved you because—" He stopped, jaw tightening, as if biting back words he dared not say. "Because it was the right thing to do." But Lin Shui wasn't stupid. She saw the flicker in his eyes, the unspoken truth beneath his denial. And it unsettled her more than she cared to admit. The following days only sharpened the strange tether between them. She caught him watching her in subtle moments, not with desire, but with something fiercer, something protective, almost possessive. At the office lobby, when rival businessmen approached her too eagerly, Zhao Chen's stance shifted ever so slightly, reminding them she was not unguarded. At a gala, when a foreign investor reached to touch her arm too familiarly, Zhao Chen's hand intercepted smoothly, his polite bow masking a warning in his eyes that even the drunk investor understood. He was always there. Always too close. Always too dangerous. And Lin Shui hated that she didn't hate it. One night, she found herself unable to hold back. "Tell me something, Zhao Chen," she demanded as they stood alone in the parking garage after another long day. The echo of her heels against the concrete was sharp. "Do you protect me because it's your job? Or because of something else?" For a moment, the underground silence pressed in on them. His gaze locked on hers, unflinching. Finally, he stepped closer, so close she could feel the heat of him, smell the faint trace of smoke and steel that clung to his skin. "Would you believe me," he murmured, If I said both? Her pulse jumped. But before she could respond, headlights flared at the far end of the garage. A black SUV roared to life, tires screeching as it sped straight toward them. "Get back!" Zhao Chen barked, grabbing her wrist and yanking her behind a concrete pillar just as bullets shredded the air. The thunder of gunfire echoed, and in that instant, Lin Shui realized his secrets were no longer just his. Whoever wanted her dead had drawn them both into the same war. The underground garage was filled with chaos, screeching tires, ricocheting bullets, and the acrid smell of burning rubber. Lin Shui pressed her back against the concrete pillar, her heart hammering so violently she thought it might tear through her chest. Zhao Chen stood in front of her like a wall of steel, his eyes blazing with lethal focus. With one swift motion, he pulled a compact pistol from the holster beneath his uniform. It was the first time she had ever seen him armed. "Stay down," he barked, stepping into the open. The black SUV roared closer, its tinted windows rolling down. Muzzles flashed, spitting fire and death. Zhao Chen moved with the speed of a predator. He ducked low, fired 3 precise shots, and the front tire of the SUV exploded. The vehicle swerved violently, crashing into a row of parked cars with a screech of twisted metal. But the attackers weren't finished. 2 masked men leaped out, armed with rifles. Lin Shui's breath caught in her throat. "This is insane. This is war." Zhao Chen advanced, his body fluid, ruthless. Every motion screamed of training, of years of battle. His pistol barked again. One assailant dropped, clutching his chest. The second charged with a roar, spraying bullets wildly. Zhao Chen spun, rolled across the concrete, came up behind a pillar, and returned fire. The man collapsed before he even realized he'd been outmatched. Silence fell. Only the faint crackle of a car alarm and Lin Shui's ragged breathing remained. Zhao Chen lowered his weapon, scanning the garage with hawk-like precision. Only when he was sure it was over did he turn back to her. "Are you hurt?" His voice was calm, but his eyes burned with intensity. Lin Shui shook her head, still frozen. I. Before she could finish, he closed the distance between them, his hands brushing her arms, her shoulders, checking her for wounds. The contact made her shiver, not from fear, but from something far more dangerous. "I told you," he said, his tone low, almost a growl. "Staying close to me means stepping into a world you don't understand." Her throat tightened. "And yet, you're the only reason I'm alive." For a heartbeat, their eyes locked. Something unspoken passed between them, something that had nothing to do with duty. Then sirens wailed in the distance. Police and company security would be swarming the place any second. Zhao Chen stepped back, slipping his pistol into its holster as though it had never existed. His expression hardened, the soldier vanishing behind the mask of a bodyguard once more. Hours later, inside her penthouse, the adrenaline still hadn't faded. Lin Shui stood by the window, arms wrapped around herself, watching the city lights blur into streaks. She could still hear the gunfire, still see the look in Zhao Chen's eyes as he fought. He wasn't just a guard. He wasn't even just a soldier. He was something far more dangerous. The door opened softly. Zhao Chen entered, carrying a tray with tea. For a moment, the sight was almost absurd. This lethal man serving her like a butler. "You should rest," he said quietly. She turned to him, her eyes sharp. "Rest? After tonight? After men tried to kill me in my own company garage?" His jaw tightened. "I told you, your enemies are not ordinary. And now they know I'm with you." Lin Shui stepped closer, her frustration boiling over. "Then tell me who they are. Tell me why I'm suddenly a target." For the first time, Zhao Chen hesitated. His hand tightened around the tray before he set it down on the table with deliberate care. "You have rivals in business, yes. But this," he met her gaze, unflinching. "This goes deeper. Much deeper. The men tonight, they were trained mercenaries. Not corporate thugs. Which means someone powerful wants you gone." Her stomach twisted. She was used to hostile takeovers, backroom deals, even blackmail. But assassins? That was another level. She whispered, almost to herself, "Why me?" For a moment, Zhao Chen's expression softened. He took a slow breath. "Because you're more important than you realize. And because—" He stopped himself, the words trailing into silence. Lin Shui stepped even closer, refusing to let him retreat. "Because what, Zhao Chen?" His eyes flickered, conflict, restraint, fire all at once. "Because if they can't control you, they'll destroy you. And I—" His voice dropped, husky. "I won't allow that." The air between them thickened, charged with something neither of them dared name. But before the moment could tip over the edge, Zhao Chen's phone vibrated. He pulled it out, scanned the encrypted message, and his entire body tensed. "What is it?" she demanded. He slipped the phone back into his pocket. "An informant. Someone inside the Dragon Shadow Corps. They want to meet." Her eyes widened. "The same unit you left?" "Yes." "Which means one of two things. Either someone's trying to help me, or they're setting a trap."
Understood.
The meeting was arranged in a forgotten warehouse by the docks, far from the glittering skyline. Zhao Chen insisted Lin Shui stay behind, but she refused. "If this involves me, I deserve to know," she argued, her chin lifting with stubborn pride. Zhao Chen's lips thinned, but he didn't fight her. Instead, he adjusted his jacket, eyes sweeping the shadows. "Stay behind me, no matter what happens." Inside, the warehouse smelled of rust and salt water. Dim light filtered through broken windows. A figure stepped out of the darkness, tall, broad-shouldered, his features hidden beneath a hood. "Zhao Chen," the man greeted, his voice cold, familiar. "It's been a long time." Lin Shui's breath hitched. She recognized the name before Zhao Chen even spoke it. "Colonel Han," Zhao Chen said flatly. The hooded man pulled it back, revealing a scarred face, eyes sharp as blades. "So it's true. The Dragon Shadow's ghost has been reduced to a bodyguard." Han's gaze shifted to Lin Shui, lingering in a way that made her skin crawl. "And this must be the heiress of Shui Group. The jewel everyone's whispering about." Zhao Chen moved instantly, blocking her from Han's view. "If you touch her, you'll regret it." Han chuckled, a low, cruel sound. "Always the protector. But you can't protect her from what's coming. The order's already been given. She will die, Zhao Chen. If not by my hand, then by another." Lin Shui's blood ran cold. "Who gave the order?" Zhao Chen demanded, his voice like steel. Han smirked. "Ask yourself why the Dragon Shadow Corps, your own brothers, would turn their guns on a corporate princess. The answer lies not in her company, but in her bloodline." The words slammed into the silence like thunder. Lin Shui staggered, confusion and dread warring inside her. Her bloodline? Zhao Chen's eyes darkened, fury barely contained. "If you lay another finger on her, Han." Han only smirked wider, stepping back into the shadows. "You can't fight what she is. And when the truth comes out, even you won't be able to save her." And then he was gone. The warehouse echoed with silence once more. Lin Shui turned to Zhao Chen, her voice trembling. "What did he mean? My bloodline?" Zhao Chen clenched his fists, his knuckles white. "It means, Miss Lin, there are secrets about your family that even you don't know. Secrets worth killing for." The storm that had been building between Zhao Chen and Lin Shui finally broke. It began with whispers in the corporate corridors. Employees of Jade Phoenix Corporation could not explain why government officials, foreign ambassadors, and even the city's most feared crime lords seemed to bow their heads with unnatural respect when Zhao Chen passed by. The man who was supposed to be nothing more than a lowly night guard carried himself with an aura that could not be disguised anymore. Lin Shui, always meticulous and sharp, began to notice. She saw it in the way the building's most senior board members would suddenly lower their tone whenever Zhao Chen appeared. She saw it in the eyes of powerful men who once threatened her, now trembling in his presence. Still, she could not bring herself to accept what her instincts screamed. That night, Lin Shui confronted him. They were alone in her office on the top floor, the city lights burning like stars beyond the glass windows. She crossed her arms, her voice sharp, though her heart raced faster than she liked. "Zhao Chen," she said, her eyes narrowing. "Who exactly are you? Enough of this game. You think I'm blind? Every day, something new. First the way you fight, too precise, too ruthless. Then the way people treat you, as if they'd die if you frowned. And then, the files I saw on my desk today." Zhao Chen's gaze flickered, calm as ever. "What files?" She slammed a folder onto the glass table between them. "These," she snapped. Inside were surveillance photos and intelligence reports, given to her anonymously. They bore one name that chilled her blood: the Dragon Sovereign. The man who was whispered to rule the underworld, the shadow economy, and even parts of the government itself. A figure feared and respected across the nation. Some said he was a myth, a legend mothers used to scare their children. Others claimed he was a tyrant in hiding, waiting for the right time to claim his empire. And now the evidence pointed at one man, her security guard. Lin Xue's throat tightened. "Tell me the truth, Zhao Chen. Are you the Dragon Sovereign?" For a long moment, he didn't answer. Only the faint hum of the city filled the silence. Then, finally, Zhao Chen straightened, his posture no longer that of a humble guard. His eyes, once soft when looking at her, turned cold, sharper than blades. "I didn't want you to find out this way," he said, his voice carrying the weight of thunder. "Yes, I am the Dragon Sovereign, and the night you begged me to stay by your side, the night you gave yourself to me, you tied yourself to the most dangerous man in this land." Her knees weakened, but she forced herself to stay upright. "Why?" she demanded. "Why would someone like you work as a guard? In my company, no less. Was this some kind of sick game? To humiliate me?" Zhao Chen's jaw tightened. For the first time, there was pain in his eyes. "No. It was to remember what it meant to live as an ordinary man. To escape the crown of blood I wear every day. And then, I met you. At first, I was curious. But then, I found myself staying. Protecting you. Watching you. Falling." He cut himself off, shaking his head. Lin Xue staggered back, her heartbeat thunderous. She wanted to scream, to curse him, to demand why he had deceived her. But at the same time, she remembered the night he had saved her life, the warmth of his arms when she was trembling, the way he had carried her out of danger without hesitation. Her voice broke. "So all this time, I was nothing more than a pawn in your little escape?" "No," his reply was firm, almost desperate. "You were never a pawn. Lin Xue, that night we shared, it wasn't a mistake. It wasn't pity. It was real, whether you want to believe me or not." But Lin Xue shook her head, tears threatening to spill. "Real? You lied to me about everything. About who you are, what you do. Do you even understand what this means? The Dragon Sovereign, if the world finds out I was with you." She couldn't finish. Her reputation, her company, her entire life could be destroyed by association alone. Zhao Chen stepped closer, his towering figure casting a shadow over her. But instead of fear, she felt heat, the dangerous pull of a man who could destroy nations but looked at her as if she were his only weakness. "You're right," he said quietly. "My name brings blood. My identity brings war. But I don't care about the empire, the enemies, or the titles. I care about you, and whether you accept it or not, you already belong to me." Her breath caught. His words were a chain of fire around her heart. She pushed against his chest, trembling. "No, I can't. I won't. Zhao Chen, this is madness." But even as she said it, her body betrayed her, remembering the safety she felt in his arms, the passion of the night they shared. He caught her wrists, gentle but unyielding, forcing her to meet his eyes. "Lin Xue, whether you love me or hate me, whether you curse me or cling to me, from the moment you gave yourself to me, you became part of my world. And I will never let you go." The words struck her like lightning. For the first time, Lin Xue understood the scale of the storm she had stepped into. Loving Zhao Chen was no longer about two hearts. It was about power, survival, and the destiny of an empire. And deep down, she knew the truth she was too afraid to admit. She was already in too deep to turn back. The Dragon Sovereign had claimed her, not by force, but by fate. The revelation of Zhao Chen's true identity did not remain hidden for long. Power, like fire, was impossible to contain once it leaked into the air. Whispers spread through the city's underworld. The dragon sovereign had resurfaced. For some, it was cause for fear. For others, it was a chance. And for his enemies, it was blood in the water. Three nights after Lin Shui confronted Zhao Chen, the city held its breath. She had barely slept since then, torn between fury and longing, betrayal and yearning. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw his face, the mask of the guard who saved her, and the crown of the sovereign who ruled from the shadows. She tried to convince herself she should cut him off, push him away, run, even. But when her phone vibrated that evening with a single message, "Stay inside tonight. Don't open the windows. Don't trust anyone," her blood turned cold. And that was when the glass exploded. Lin Shui screamed as masked men in black stormed her penthouse. Armed with blades and pistols, they moved with deadly precision, their faces hidden behind demon masks. The city's night lights reflected off their weapons as they closed in. "Take her alive," one hissed. Before she could react, the door blasted open. Zhao Chen entered, not as a guard, not even as the man she knew in moments of tenderness. Tonight, he was the dragon sovereign. Dressed in a black coat that billowed like a storm, his eyes burned with fury. The air around him seemed heavier, charged with killing intent. The intruders faltered for half a second, and that was all he needed. In one motion, Zhao Chen moved faster than her eyes could follow. His hand twisted, a blade stolen from one attacker turning back into its owner's throat. A gun went off, but he was already behind the shooter, his elbow snapping the man's neck with a sickening crack. Lin Shui's chest heaved as she pressed against the wall, watching him cut through assassins like a shadow of death. Every movement was ruthless yet elegant, as if violence itself obeyed him. Within minutes, the floor was littered with broken bodies. But before she could even breathe in relief, the leader appeared. A tall man stepped through the shattered glass balcony, his mask carved into a dragon's sneer. Unlike the others, he did not hesitate. His voice was deep, mocking. "So, it's true. The sovereign hides in plain sight. How far you've fallen, Zhao Chen, reduced to guarding women instead of commanding nations." Zhao Chen's eyes narrowed dangerously. "You should have stayed buried, Yen Luo." Lin Shui flinched. She knew that name, rumors of a warlord who once challenged the dragon sovereign, defeated and exiled in disgrace. Yet here he was, alive, and clearly hungry for revenge. Yen Luo smirked, lifting a curved blade. "And you," his gaze shifted to Lin Shui, "must be the woman who chained the dragon. How precious! I wonder how you'll scream when I tear her away." Zhao Chen's expression turned to ice. "Touch her, and your corpse won't be recognizable." The duel exploded before Lin Shui could blink. Steel clashed, sparks flying as the two titans collided. Unlike the faceless assassins, Yen Luo was a monster in his own right. His strikes carried brutal force, his movements unpredictable. The penthouse shook with their battle, glass shattering, furniture splintering under their clash. Lin Shui's heart pounded as she crouched low, watching helplessly. Every blow could kill. Every misstep could end him. But Zhao Chen was more than a fighter. He was a sovereign, and his aura devoured the room. Step by step, strike by strike, he forced Yen Luo back until blood glistened at the edge of the warlord's mouth. "Still the same arrogance," Yen Luo spat, staggering. "But arrogance makes you blind. Look behind you." Zhao Chen froze. Lin Shui gasped as two more masked assassins emerged from the shadows, seizing her by the arms. One pressed a dagger to her throat, the blade kissing her skin. "Zhao Chen!" she cried, her voice breaking. Yen Luo grinned wickedly. "See, even dragons have weaknesses. You hid among mortals, sovereign, but love makes fools of us all. Kneel before me, or I'll slit her throat where she stands." For the first time, Zhao Chen's composure cracked. His fists tightened, his eyes burning with something darker than rage. Fear. Lin Shui felt her breath falter. She had never seen him falter, never seen him hesitate. And now, because of her, he was cornered. "Don't do it," she whispered, tears in her eyes. "Don't bow to him for me." But Zhao Chen's jaw set. He took a step forward, lowering his weapon. "Let her go, Yen Luo. This is between us." Yen Luo laughed, savoring the sight. The mighty dragon sovereign, kneeling for a woman. How pathetic. But just as Zhao Chen bent one knee, his eyes flickered, sharp, calculating. Lin Shui caught it, her heart leaping. In an instant, he moved. With the speed of lightning, he flung his blade, not at Yen Luo, but at the assassin holding Lin Shui. The weapon pierced the man's eye, dropping him instantly. At the same moment, Zhao Chen lunged, tearing the second attacker away from her with bone-breaking force. Lin Shui stumbled free, gasping, as Zhao Chen pulled her behind him, shielding her with his body. Yen Luo roared with fury, charging. But now Zhao Chen was unchained. His strikes became merciless, his dominance absolute. Within moments, Yen Luo was disarmed, his body crashing through the glass balcony with a thunderous shatter. He fell into the night, his scream swallowed by the city below. Silence fell. Lin Shui clung to Zhao Chen's arm, trembling. Her penthouse was in ruins, her body shaken, but she was alive, because of him. Zhao Chen turned, his hands still stained with blood. For a moment, she saw the dragon sovereign again. Ruthless, untouchable, terrifying. But when his eyes met hers, the storm broke into something softer. "Are you hurt?" he asked, his voice low, almost fragile. She shook her head, tears spilling at last. "No, but you. Zhao Chen, this world of yours, it's going to destroy us both." He pulled her into his arms, holding her tightly against his chest. "Then let it try, because I will never let it take you from me." And for the first time, Lin Shui understood that loving him meant stepping into a world of fire, a world where peace was an illusion, and only strength could keep her alive. But even as fear gripped her, another truth burned deeper. She could no longer walk away. The dragon sovereign had saved her again. And she was his, whether she admitted it or not. The city did not sleep after that night. The storm of violence that tore through Lin Shui's penthouse spread whispers like wildfire. The dragon sovereign lived, and his enemies were rallying. For Zhao Chen, the night was far from over. He carried Lin Shui from the wreckage, shielding her from flashing cameras and curious eyes. He placed her inside a black car waiting in the alley, and for the first time in years, he looked weary, like the weight of 1,000 battles finally pressed against his shoulders. Inside the car, Lin Shui sat in silence, her hands trembling in her lap. The smell of blood still clung to him, and though he tried to wipe it away, it lingered in the air between them. Finally, she broke. "How many more nights will be like this, Zhao Chen? How many more enemies are waiting in the shadows?" He didn't look at her, his gaze fixed out the window. "As long as I breathe, there will be enemies." Her chest tightened. "And as long as I stay with you, I'll always be in danger." His jaw clenched, but he said nothing. By dawn, the sovereign's hidden stronghold was alive with tension. It was an underground sanctuary beneath the city, where Zhao Chen's most loyal guards stood watch. Lin Shui had never seen it before. Its steel walls, its glowing monitors, the men who bowed the moment Zhao Chen entered. One of the guards stepped forward, blood staining his shirt. "Sovereign, Yen Luo survived the fall. His forces are regrouping. He swore to burn the city if you don't kneel." Lin Shui's breath caught. She thought the nightmare was over, but no, it had only begun. Zhao Chen's expression darkened. "Then this ends tonight." Hours later, Zhao Chen stood before a long table of weapons. Blades, pistols, explosives, tools of war he had abandoned years ago but now must wield again. Lin Shui approached quietly, her eyes searching his profile. "You don't have to fight alone. You can run. Hide. Leave all of this behind." He shook his head, his voice steady. "If I run, Yen Luo will hunt me to the ends of the earth. And he won't just come for me. He'll come for you. Her throat tightened. Why me? I'm no one to this war of yours. Finally, he turned to her. His gaze softened, cutting through the steel walls of his aura. Because you are mine, Lin Shui, and that makes you the sharpest weapon they can use against me. Her heart twisted. Then let me go. If I leave, you'll have nothing left to lose. His eyes darkened, and he took a step closer, gripping her shoulders. Don't say that. You think I could survive if I lost you? I've walked through fire, I've worn crowns and chains, but nothing has undone me like you. If you leave, I won't be sovereign. I won't even be Zhao Chen. I'll be nothing. Tears welled in her eyes. She hated him for binding her heart, hated herself for not being able to break free. You'll get yourself killed. Then let me die as I am, with you in my heart. Night fell, and with it, the final storm. Yen Luo emerged at the abandoned docks, his men swarming the harbor like a black tide. Torches burned, weapons gleamed, and the air was thick with bloodlust. Zhao Chen walked into the chaos alone, a shadow among shadows. His presence silenced the crowd, an emperor without a throne, a sovereign without a crown, yet still commanding fear. Lin Shui, despite his orders, followed in secret. She could not sit in silence while he faced death. Hidden among crates, she watched, her heart in her throat. Yen Luo stepped forward, his body wrapped in bandages from their last battle. His sneer was venomous. You should have stayed dead, sovereign. Tonight, I end your legend. Zhao Chen's voice was calm, lethal. Legends don't die. They burn. The two collided, and the night erupted. Their duel was monstrous, steel against steel, will against will. Every strike shook the docks, every blow sent sparks flying into the sea wind. Yen Luo fought with the ferocity of revenge, but Zhao Chen fought with something greater, purpose. But numbers weighed against him. Assassins swarmed, and though Zhao Chen cut them down with ruthless grace, even a dragon could bleed. Lin Shui's breath caught as she saw him falter, a blade slicing across his side. Blood bloomed against his coat. "No," she whispered, tears blinding her. Yen Luo's laughter was cruel. "You see, sovereign, even dragons fall. You will watch her die next." He lunged, not at Zhao Chen, but at Lin Shui. She screamed as he dragged her from the shadows, his blade pressing against her neck. The world spun, and suddenly she was the prize in the middle of war. "Let me taste your fear," Yen Luo hissed, his arm like iron around her throat. "Kneel, sovereign, or I'll spill her blood into the sea." Zhao Chen froze. His breath came ragged, blood dripping from his wound, but his eyes blazed. For the first time, Lin Shui saw him hesitate, saw the sovereign stripped bare. And in that heartbeat, she understood, he would give up everything for her. Which was why she could not let him. With all her strength, Lin Shui slammed her heel down on Yen Luo's foot and twisted free, the blade grazing her skin. At the same time, she shouted, "Zhao Chen, now!" The sovereign did not waste the chance. Like a storm breaking free, he surged forward, his blade driving through Yen Luo's chest. The warlord's eyes widened in shock, blood bubbling from his lips. "No, I was supposed to win." Zhao Chen twisted the blade, his voice like steel. "Your war ends here." With a final push, Yen Luo collapsed, his body falling into the sea with a hollow splash. Silence followed, broken only by the waves. Zhao Chen staggered, blood staining his side. Lin Shui rushed to him, catching him before he fell. "Stay with me," she cried, her hands trembling against his wound. "Please, Zhao Chen, don't leave me now." He coughed, his lips curving into a faint, tired smile. "You disobeyed me." "Shut up," she sobbed. "You're not allowed to die. Not like this." His hand brushed her cheek, his touch warm despite the blood. "I told you before, if I lose you, I lose everything. Now you see why." Her tears spilled freely. For all his power, for all his titles, here he was, fragile, mortal, hers. And in that broken moment, she made her choice. "I won't leave you," she whispered fiercely. "Not to your enemies, not to your demons. If being with you means walking through fire, then I'll burn with you." His eyes softened, a rare peace settling over him. "Then, I am not afraid." She pressed her forehead to his, their breaths mingling in the night air. And there, surrounded by ruin and death, they sealed their bond, not with crowns, not with vows, but with survival, with love carved from fire. Days later, the city was quiet again. Yen Luo's forces scattered, his shadow broken. Zhao Chen recovered slowly under Lin Shui's care, and though scars remained, his spirit was unyielding. One evening, as they stood together on the balcony overlooking the city lights, he spoke softly. "I was a sovereign who ruled in fear. But you taught me what it means to fight for something worth dying for." Lin Shui leaned against him, her hand in his. "And you taught me that love isn't safety. It's choosing to stay, even when the world burns." He kissed her then, deeply, fiercely, the kiss of a man who had lost and won, who had bled and survived. And for the first time in years, the dragon's sovereign smiled. Not because the war was over, but because he was no longer alone in it. Thank you for listening to this story. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. Until we meet again in the next story, take care and keep the magic of imagination alive.